I tried something different this time and I decided to film with my smartphone. Unfortunately, the first part of the footage was corrupted. I didn't understand the time limitations on filming, so I'm just going to explain to you kind of what I did up to this point. I started by coating the whole left side of my face with an Elmer's non-toxic glue stick and let it dry. That will protect my skin for the layers to come. To create the center line, I layered pieces of torn toilet paper with clear Elmer's glue. I coated my skin with the glue, laid down a single layer, and let it dry. I did a total of 3 layers, keeping the edge just a single layer for the half of my face that would blend into my skin. Once that dried, I peeled up the thicker edge, as you kind of saw me doing in the beginning of the video, and I used the same method to layer the side of my face with a piece of ripped material, toilet paper, and red tissue paper. There was no particular reason why I chose red, it just happened to be what I had on hand at the time, so you can actually use whatever color tissue paper, because you're going to be covering it all up later anyways. There's really no method to this part. It's kind of, as textured or as smooth as you want it to be. But for every piece, I put down that glue layer first, stick it to it, kind of manipulate it and mush it where I want it to go, and then coat the whole thing in glue so that I can move on to the next part and just keep going with it. What's nice about this process is it stays fairly wet for a few minutes, so you're able to kind of switch it up as you go. So if you're not too happy with what you started with, you still have time to kind of keep changing it and manipulating it until you really like what you have. Once you reach a point where the whole thing is coated in a layer of glue and you're pretty happy with it, just kind of let the whole thing dry. It doesn't take very long. While I let that half dry, I start prepping the other half of my face now. I start by covering it with a really high coverage cover-up and a shade that's slightly lighter than my own, and I layer it really thick towards the center to kind of help hide that seam that I created. You could do this part with a makeup sponge. I just personally like to use kind of a flat, softer brush to kind of really buff out those layers, and I can kind of stipple it on and make it thicker where I want it. Because this cover-up's so thick, I'm not a huge fan of using it around my eyes, so I like to use this instead in the eye area. It still has high coverage, but it's a little bit thinner, so it's not as cakey towards the end of the night. And then I'm just going to go through and powder the heck out of everything. This is a translucent powder, which is my favorite thing to use. It's super inexpensive. You can get it at Walmart for like $3. It lasts a long time, and even though it's translucent, it still has a high coverage without being too powdery once you dust it off. This is a palette that I got from Rue 21 like forever ago, but it's really great and it's lasted me a long time, and it's like $7, so I really can't complain. And I'm just using the main 3 bottom colors to kind of blend and add warmth around the edges of my face and kind of define my features a little bit, since we pretty much whited out the whole thing. Here I'm just using the detail brush to go in with the darkest shade in the palette to make it a little bit more defined in those shadowed areas. I am adding blush, but I'm layering it more so on top of what I've already put down for sculpting, because you kind of want to keep the spotlight towards the center of your face. A flat crafting brush is actually my new favorite thing to put on eyebrows whenever I want to do actual hair strokes. And you can actually see how you can get such a defined edge, which is not always what you want in the real world, but you can see right here that it does do pretty good strokes. I started with doing kind of a more natural brow, and then I realized, hey, this is Cleopatra. You know, her makeup's kind of more over the top and really defined. So I kind of filled it in more and just shaped it up until I was pretty happy with it. Your eyes are really what's going to define this look, so I'm going with yellow, blue, teal tones, and saturated black. So I'm starting by covering the lid and kind of angling it up towards the brow to give that cat's eye effect in the blue. I'm keeping the most amount of pigment towards that outer edge because we're going to be blending it into yellow towards the center. So really only take the blue in about maybe 3/4 of the way across your lid. Wherever you put your colors up above, make sure to bring them down under your lid as well. So wherever you have blue above, put blue below, gold above, gold below. Pretty simple. I really want these colors to pop, so I'm actually right here just taking my finger and I've dipped it in some of the paint from a color palette that I got that's for face painting. And that's pretty much every little paint that you see me hold up in this video. And so wherever I'm putting the color down where I want it really pigmented, I'm tapping it on in that color as kind of a base and then tapping the corresponding shadow color on top of it. Now that the color is defined, to give it kind of more of a blended look, I'm using this kind of champagne-y color and just pressing with my finger in the center of where the colors overlap to kind of give it that pearlized look and also to kind of soften that edge between. Now I'm just taking the black in the very same palette and getting it wet with a little flat defining crafting brush, and I'm kind of doing the outline of a very extreme cat's eye. I'm taking it up very close to the very end of where my brow is, and I also am going to line the bottom line. You're going to want to keep that darker edge towards the outer corner, and then I'm taking it and I'm extending that as well into a line that runs parallel with the top cat's eye line. Taking a fluffier blending brush, I'm just putting some of that black shadow into the darker parts of that outer edge of the blue and then pressing in more of the teal just to make that eyelid pop again. Here I'm overlaying what I already did for the cat's eye with some liquid liner. You could kind of skip the previous step if you wanted just a well-defined, kind of eyeliner look. Personally, I've just done this for so long where I put down the wet layer first, let it dry, and then do this defining over it. If you're really good with it, you kind of don't have to do it. I guess I just do it out of habit, and I kind of like that you can see some of the softer effects around the edges of it, so it's really just personal preference. I am doing it here on the bottom, but I'm keeping it very thin towards the inner corner. I'm just taking the top line of the inner corner and bringing it down a bit to kind of, one, bring in the center of my face because I kind of extended it with adding that skin flap. It makes your nose look very wide, and two, it just gives kind of that more finalized look. And here I'm just drawing kind of a signature thing. You'll see it in tons of pictures. It's nothing super creative or new. I would love to take credit for it, but obviously it's kind of one of your most common makeup styles for an Egyptian themed makeup. Here I am putting on lashes, but I'm only going to put a lash on that side of the face. Now if you wanted to do a full inspired Egyptian look, you could actually take this entire tutorial that you've seen so far, minus the glue and everything, and just do this full makeup look to both sides of your face. Now I'm just adding a line to the lip that I have, and I'm extending it over across that flap because you kind of want it to look like your lip filled up as well. It is kind of hard to get that nice clean edge because you have so many layers and glue going on. So I'm going in with a stiffer little craft brush and just kind of spreading it out too to kind of just give a nice base for lipstick to stick to. And now I'm just putting on this mineral lip gloss on top, just a standard red, and it doesn't have to be very crisp. Obviously, the closer to your makeup side of the face you want it clean, but it can just go messy onto the flap of skin. Now these are also from that face painting kit. I started out originally doing a gray layer to just kind of cancel out the red a little bit, and then I started to notice as the red was peeking through, I was kind of liking it, so I let it kind of stay thinner in areas, and then I coated it over with a brown. The two layers combined to help hide everything going on underneath. It makes kind of a cohesive piece, and I like the warmth of the brown because you're still a little bit human. And here I'm just taking a sponge brush and just kind of putting on a little bit of that black paint into the darker areas where I want it to look more indented. And then I'm taking this white and I'm tapping it, but really lightly to where it's more touching the top and highest points of the things that we glued down. So it looks like you put a lot of texture work into it without really having to. And then I'm taking this gray and I'm just kind of defining where I wanted more of lined areas. Just kind of refining the shape into something that I just visually liked better personally. Here I'm taking a shimmery gray shadow and I'm kind of rubbing it a little bit thinly into the areas that I want highlighted, and I'm taking this black shadow and I'm putting it into the areas that I want to be recessed. I'm also taking the opportunity to put this around the eyes because I don't really want paint around my eyes. You want it to stay on most of the night, so I put that shadow there. And here I'm just taking some of the white and just going back, just detailing the highest points. This step is kind of my favorite. I'm taking my finger to take some of that same silvery, shimmery shadow, and I'm rubbing it over the highest points of the highlighted areas. And with that buffing with your finger, it's going to actually make those really stand out. And obviously I just popped a contact into that eye. You don't have to. I just wanted something with the two different colored eyes. And now I'm just kind of detailing into the eye socket area to kind of just make it nice and dark and recessed. Lining your waterline can really help make that recessed area on that side pop, so go ahead and do that step as well. And here's the final look. You've got half Cleopatra, half Mummy, and just kind of, you know, a little glam and scary for Halloween, and it's kind of a more fun one to do. So leave your comments below, let me know what you think, like, subscribe, and thank you guys so much for watching and keeping up with my channel. You guys are awesome.